Today, we're actually featuring my main account. And there's good reason for that. It's a kart race. I like kart races. And also, this is even more surprising to me featuring my main account. Polyphony Digital actually kinda sorta fixed the penalty system. It's like below average instead of terrible now. So that seems worth racing, because I would hope in a kart race people can give room, and penalties won't be that big of a deal, and given that I'm showing it in this view, well, they weren't. And, you know what, because this is the first time I've featured my alternate account in a long time, how about we do something special for it? Let's have a rapid racer rundown. We have a really fast driver. Skip. A really fast driver. Another really fast driver. Okay, y'all get the trend here. Every driver in this race is a really cotton-picking fast driver. And that was the main point of why I did the rapid racer rundown for this, because obviously people have their unique liveries and all that, but something that is the same for every driver is they're all really cotton-picking fast and all really cotton-picking competitive, and draft makes them all really cotton-picking close. So just because I qualified in second doesn't necessarily mean I can finish there, but that could mean I'm finished one spot higher, maybe, just maybe, I don't know. To put it in perspective, I don't know if y'all saw it or not, but Windfire was in 8th to start this race. When Windfire's in 8th, you know you're racing with the aliens. And that's pretty good for kart race as well, because that's generally the one where they skip. Granted, this is still a FIA race, but you can skip some. You only have to have your top half races. And quite a few seem to skip these, but yet I still got a really cotton-picking good lobby. The top points for this race is over 2,200. I think it's actually high 2,200s. I can't remember the exact number. But, well, I'm in second, so that should mean what, like 2,100 points? 2,100 points would be, I think, 500 points to the good of my best point gain of a race ever in either Nations or Manufacturers Cup. So I'll gladly take that. But actually the racing is calm and somewhat competitive now, so that's even more to take. It's early in the race, so that's why I kind of sound a bit iffy there, but it's a lot better than some previous kart races, I'll say that. And as y'all can see, I'm recording in this view for a reason. Penalties weren't that big of a deal, really. As far as I can tell, everyone, like, who ended up in the main pack, which obviously y'all don't know that yet, but I'll just say they did kind of end in the main pack, all raced really cotton-picking clean, and I even got a clean race bonus, I will say that right now, and y'all can judge how I race later on. I will say this, I don't race as consistent as some of the other drivers, but draft kind of equalizes it all out. As long as you stay in the draft line, you don't have to be absolutely perfect with the karts. Which is, it's unrealistic, honestly, but it is really fun. And there is some skill to stay in the main draft line with the fastest drivers, too. Like, if you qualified in 15th, and that's like where you realistically are, for instance. Nothing, it's a 15th place driver, I'm just using that as an example. If you qualified there and that's your realistic speed, you didn't just get caught up in traffic in qualifying, then you're not realistically going to be able to get to the main draft line. But if you qualified in 8th, you might. As of now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars in the draft line. That's why I said that. That's pretty cotton-picking good right yonder. Then here's all the drivers, just so y'all can keep track. There's actually enough really good drivers in this where y'all might have a driver that's like your favorite or whatever. Like, in terms of actually like watching live streams and stuff. I mean, I guess if y'all are on my channel, at least y'all don't dislike me, but I doubt I'm necessarily anyone's favorite either, because I don't really have the internet capabilities to really do live streams of races. And I'll admit, I'm probably not going to get there anytime soon. I can technically live stream once I'm at my college, but they're weekly races now and not daily. And the FIA races I need to like train for to even have a chance whatsoever to compete in, and I may not have time to do that. So yeah, for now we have this, and this ain't bad. Jiminy Cricket, that's a close race. Holy snikes, folks. Nobody wrecked there. I don't even think anyone made contact there. If it was very minor. And yeah, that's some good racing right yonder. Hopefully it stays that way. Again, it's still early on, so I don't know, folks, but well, I do know this. I'm still holding my own, and that's a lot better than I honestly figured. I knew it could be fast in like one lap, but I have no idea when racing against the very best, just because I generally don't get a chance to. As I'm sure y'all figured out through the almost a year now of GT Sport, and even more than that with the Coles Beta and all that, I get the main chunk of my driver rating points through races that a lot of the main aliens don't generally do, aka like daily/weekly race A and B. And I'm not really saying that as a bad thing, to each their own on what races they're best at. But that also means that I'm not exactly the best, like, here, really. Yeah, I was a little bit uncomfortable, like, doing, like, this right now. That may have actually been minor contact, too, I don't know. It was very minor, but that was kind of a... like, that driver went out a bit, so it might have been contact. It wasn't enough for me to really notice it, like that controller didn't vibrate, but Karts, even the very smallest of thing you notice. And I think that driver did notice that, but again, I don't really think that was dirty. Everybody in the main pack is still racing clean. Is this going to be the main pack when the race ends? Well, I ain't going to say yet, but... I mean, everybody better be careful here. They're going to lose the draft to actually the main two. It's... believe it or not, I'm part of the 2-car breakaway right now. Granted, third can kind of run their own line right now, but they have to be a little bit leery of very leery of fourth. I'm liking this, folks. I was a little bit scared there for a minute, like this time last lap, but I got through it, and believe it or not, I think I'm kind of inching away right now. I've yet to even attempt to pass yet, meaning pass the leader. But I mean, as of now, we both have really caught and picking good pace, so I really have no need to. If we can keep the current pace that we're at, meaning this, I mean, I'll be honest, that's pretty caught picking fast for race pace there. That's pretty good right yonder. And it's also not even really and truly drafting. Honestly, I wanted to bump draft, but the driver in front kind of didn't. They kept on sweeping and stuff, which I can't blame them that much. But I've tried to make it as clear as possible that I'm not really wanting to pass yet. So it would have kind of helped us both out if that driver allowed for bump drafting. But either way, we still both have ground on third. I was going to say decent ground on third, but third caught up now. Like I said, if first would have allowed some bump drafting, then maybe a different story. But whatever, no big deal yet. I mean, every driver in this field is really caught picking good, so it's hard to say if there's, like, one in particular that can, like, really far and, like, easily run away from the, oh dear. I mean, as I said, draft is a great equalizer, and every driver here is really caught picking good, but then there's some drivers that are just, like, the cottonest pickinest goodness who can, like, compete with the very best all the time on any track and car combination, so... yeah. I'm doing the best I can here, but I'm kind of back in that situation I was before where I said I wasn't the most comfortable in the world. But luckily, this penalty system makes it where even if there's some very minor contact, it's no big deal now. Hallelujah! That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be racing main time with my main account, especially now that college is actually, like, starting, like, pretty much now, really. But I will consider it more in the future, I'll say that, but I'm not doing full-time yet. Again, the penalty system is still kind of sort of below average, kind of like the second update of it, it may have been a 5 to begin with. It was kind of like a 6, and then like the 1.13 update and beyond to like right before now, it's like a 2 or a 3. Now it's maybe a 5 again. Honestly, it seems like the best iteration of the penalty system was the closed beta. Kind of sad, but it seems like I end up mentioning that in almost every video. So I'll cool it for now. And do a view that I haven't really featured yet. The in-car view, some people actually prefer this for karts. I never honestly prefer the in-car, like, cockpit view for racing against other people just because you have, like, that whole thing blocking you there. Granted, it's smaller in a kart than it is for any other vehicle, but still, I just prefer this view because there's nothing blocking you, and you get a rearview mirror. Granted, you don't need that much of a rearview mirror in a kart, but still, it doesn't hurt, I'll say that. And actually, my driving still didn't actually hurt me too much either, granted. I was going to say granted, I fell down a spot, but, well, Jiminy Cricket, I'm in the lead. That driver had a bit of iffy driving there. I'm going to say that right now. I'm not going to cut back to it because that driver kind of sort of comes back later in the race. And remember, that's also the pole sitter. Kind of hard to tell the actual downright speed with karts because drafts is so overpowered, but I will say that's the pole sitter. But either way, that happened, and well, now I'm on point. I didn't even get the pole by like a 10th and a half. That driver ahead of me was like way faster. Got a low 7, I got a high 8. Which actually still put me in second by about a 10th over third. But actually, that's about a second. Like, to me now, it's a straight. So that's losing ground pretty caught picking quick. And I did do a little bit of sweeping there, but I'm going to lead a lap. After this, I don't really care as much, but I just wanted to lead a lap. And it's like as good of the best as we're going to get with karts and splits and all that. I mean, different people may do different splits, and not everyone does the karts, but as far as I know, this was pretty much the highest point payout race there was, or at least tied-ish with it. There was another race that was 2,200 something that had Gumball and Lloyd Elite and some others in it. I think some of the, now actually I think the race that Gumball was in was, I can't remember. Watch their YouTube channels to figure it out, I can't remember for sure. But I know there's one that only paid out like 2,000, and then there was one that also paid out like 2,200. But this one pays out 2,200, so that's pretty big good gain for me if I can get that. Granted, I am not competing in the slightest for points right now. This is probably the only race I'm going to do with my main account in either of the cups. Except for maybe Big Willow, but I'm very iffy on Big Willow. Just because, yeah, the penalty system is better now in terms of not getting penalties for minor contact. But minor contact at Willow can quite literally ruin your race. It kinda sorta can with karts, but karts only go like 100 miles an hour anyway, so you don't lose that much ground if you're wrecking a kart, and there's still tons of chance of wrecking in a kart. Big Willow, you can go like 160, even in like Group 4, they go like 150, and I think it's a Group 4 race, so there's that much more to lose. And I say that, I haven't even lost a lead yet. Let's focus more on this racing, because now draft has made it really cotton picking close again. Hasn't exactly been far at any point, but that's really close, and I'll be honest, Hellfire gave me a bump draft there, so that's nice. Could have tried to pass on, like, the back straight, and probably just bogged down everyone, but he actually waited to the turn, and used braking zone to actually pass there, which kind of helped everyone involved. So I pretty much just let him get that, because if he would have tried to pass on the straight, he would have not carried much momentum onto the front straight, and then probably had 4 or 5 cars be right next to each other. Now it's pretty spread out, so that move kind of sort of helped everyone out, bump drafting me instead of trying to pass right going into the final turn. So that's definitely a good thing for everyone around. I don't really mind letting someone go who probably all in all is faster, even though they might not qualified there. They definitely are more consistent, and especially when they're racing nice and like strategic, like not passing in a point would just slow everyone down. I'm not doing the dandiest compared to how I was, but I'd still say everyone in this general pack is in the main draft. And I will go and say, too, and remember how I was saying there's kind of a general pack in the end? This is pretty much it. As you can see, 6 is there, 5th is me, and this pretty much stays the pack. I ain't gonna say anything else, though, because there's still a good chunk of racing left. Believe it or not, I was actually leading at the halfway point-ish. It's 25 laps, so it's not an even number, but, I mean, it's pretty much like start of lap 13. I was leading to that, like end of 12, start of 13. I was in the lead for that general region, so if I can just do what I did there doubly, then I win in theory, but it ain't quite that easy. Especially when it's different leaders than it was at the early bit of the race. Remember how I said the pole sitter were kind of sort of like come back later? Maybe not. But the pole sitter's kind of around that general yonder pack, but I'm not sure how much I should really like say about this or how much that driver wants me to say about that, but that driver had a bit of like conflict or whatever, but also as I showed on screen, that driver also kind of sort of wrecked someone. Like, it looked pretty intentional. Again, I didn't really want to cut back to it because don't, like, do the dirty laundry or whatever if it doesn't affect me and all it doesn't slow too many people down too much. But also, that driver was kind of annoyed at me because I hit a curb and, like, bumped them. Like, unintentionally. So, intentional versus unintentional, y'all can make your own call on that, but whatever, moving on from that now, and if y'all want me to show it, then I'll see. I ain't gonna say I will, but I'll see, but for now, I'm trying to keep it pretty positive and pretty incident-free, because really about the only driver who got hurt from incidents is the one who kind of caused an incident sort of on purpose, so not bad. But back to the race. That driver's going to be having to be pretty cotton-picking good right now to keep up with the rest of the pack. Because, I mean, that's the top 2. This is 3rd. That's almost out of the draft. Granted, the top 2 is sort of kind of battling, but not side-by-side either. So, luckily, 4th is giving 3rd more room than 2nd is giving 1st in general, but 3rd is still going to have to be on point. And there's not too much I can really do about it right now. Because as I've said in general, whether it's my main account or not, but especially with my main account, I don't really want to be in the middle of a pack. Just because SR down and penalties and all that. And granted, the penalty system is better now. But still, I don't really want to be in the middle of a pack. Because honestly, I don't know if I'd be able to keep up the pace all that good. And remember how I said I was leading for a bit? Granted, that wasn't the middle of the pack, but it was still kind of the equivalent of me driving in the middle of the pack because I had to make sure I didn't mess anyone up. Look at my pace there when I was leading for 12, 13, 14-ish. 7, 6, 5, and then look at, like, the most recent laps. 6 blue laps, so even better than that. I think it might have actually been an O and 2. And we are this far back from the leaders, so therefore they're going a little bit faster. I'll be honest, I wasn't doing it intentionally, but I was quote-unquote slowing the field down a little bit when I was leading. It was only like 0.2 a lap on average, but, I mean, I'm not them. Definitely not them. And that ain't a bad thing. I'm perfectly fine being where I am right now. And where I am is still kind of in the lead pack. I mean, again, it's kind of more up to 3rd of us 4th and 5th staying with the lead pack more than anything, but 3rd is doing a good job. I wouldn't really say 3rd is quite gaining time on them yet, but ain't losing time, and I think there was actually more 2nd losing time than 3rd gaining time there. 2nd lost a lot of time in that corner. That may have actually been from first, I don't know, but nonetheless, their battling is a good thing for all of us. Like, even them, too, honestly. I'm sure it's pretty fun for them when the penalty system behaves. If they can stay in the top 2 and battle with each other, I don't really think they care as much that third is close, because they know how to race good enough where it's not really going to hurt them. So, this is a fun race all around. Even though it's not really side-by-side, it is fun and competitive and can get there. And speaking of getting there, it's starting to actually get to the end of the race now. There's still a bit of it left, but, I mean, you're going to have to try and pass at some point. I don't really know when that point is for me yet, but, soon. I'll say that soon. But really, as of now, we're quite literally all within like a second of each other. So, it doesn't have to be now, it has to be soon. But that's kind of also the same with the top 2 there, ain't it? Yeah. But, the more they try and pass each other, technically, the more the back 3 were catching up, but really, we're kind of all already there. So they're probably just going to race each other at their own discretion, not worry too much about the other 3 right now. That's at least what I'd do if I had that much consistency. But again, I do technically have the speed to be fine. I just really don't think I can race quite that consistent at the very front. Again, their pace is better than my pace, and I wasn't really messing up any. I just couldn't keep it quite the absolute max pace every lap. But being in a draft, that kind of equals me out. Honestly, though, as I say that, though, they're still both doing a really picking good job to neutralize draft and not have third go by. Third has kind of gained some time on them, but I really don't think third at any point has had a realistic chance of passing second. I don't really know if third wants to yet, but still. If I was third, I'd think about it. But it's not as much up to third as it is second and first, as I've kind of been saying, though. Second lost a little bit of time there. Third has a draft and a run, so I think if I was actually third, if I get a good run out of this turn, I would try to pass into turn 1 here. Let's see what happens, folks. And it wasn't the best run. It wasn't the worst run, but with draft, you can carry about 97 out of that corner. I was like 96 or so. But again, that gets second and first next to each other because the third couldn't quite catch up, so I don't know, folks. I mean, this is really got pretty close, and again, as I said at the very beginning, I'm kind of tentative about the end, and well, this is pretty much the end, so anything can happen, could happen, may happen, I don't know, but that's part of the fun, I think. I hope. I hope it's fun, at least for me. I prefer it to be fun for everyone. As I said, if I'm going to win or just do good in general, I'd rather do it on speed than others wreck, but karts, especially near the end of the race, no matter how good you are, there's a decent chance of people wrecking. But honestly, that's bump drafting, what I kind of wanted to do with the leader at the beginning, and maybe we kind of could have had a bit of a runaway if we did that, instead of being kind of iffy at the end, and like, yeah, but whatever, they're still not quite getting a runaway, and honestly, they're probably more consistent than us two, like the leaders at the start of the race, though, and they couldn't even get a runaway, so whatever, no harm, no foul, because as of now, it doesn't really matter what happened at the beginning. Now it's the end, and now it's getting really picking close. I was able to get one position. I qualified in second, so I guess I can say I'd like to get 2 more, but I'm not going to force the issue much. If I have a chance to pass cleanly, I'll do it, but I'm not going to dive bomb or anything. I see no point in it. I'm not racing for points, I'm racing more for fun, and this has been a really fun and competitive race. I've stayed in the lead pack throughout, so I'm as competitive as the next person, but also understand, like, all of these drivers are competing for actual points and, like, tangible things to, like, go to events and stuff, so I don't want to ruin their chance of getting in there just because I want to win a non-tangible race. Like, I'm not actually at an event or anything. Not sure who out of this field will actually make it, but I'm pretty sure at least someone would, and I don't want to mess up that race, whoever that would end up being. But, as I said, if I get a chance to pass cleanly, I'll definitely do it. definitely do it. That's getting kind of close. And to be honest, second and first are that much closer. I might get third, but second almost definitely will get first. That's a whole heck of a heap of draft, and you can't defend against draft with cards. Draft is more overpowered than any one driver can ever be. So in theory, I think the driver on the outside is going to get Jiminy Cricket. No, that was a lot of the other times. Unless it ends in a downright wreck, the driver on the outside will generally get the overtake done. Just because draft is so overpowered, they have the momentum to do it. But Hellfire was actually able to hold it. But I mean, good job to everyone. Pure Cry. Just like everyone involved, even down to like the lower end of the pack, because I don't do the FIA races all that much. Especially with main accounts. And I never, ever, ever get this high with this good of a split. Generally, if I do the FIA races, I'll do like the first split of the night, because honestly, that's when I have more time to race. This time I did the second split, and arguably this was the highest payout split there was. And I got fourth in it. And it was a really pick a good race to the end for like all of the top four. And I mean, just look at all of the field who were actually lower. That's some really pick a good drivers there, even throughout, like well beyond fourth. I know I'm never going to be like them three there side by side. I'm not going to be able to get it ever that close consistently. But the very few times I do get a chance to, I'll try my best to make the most of it and have an overall fun race. I'm not going to be someone who wrecks someone just to try to get more points, because realistically, I'm never going to be competing for points. So if I do enter one of these races with my main account, I'm going to try above all to make it as fun of a race as possible and as competitive as possible, but also cleanly. If I do accidentally wreck someone, sorry, but generally, I will say this: the harder you race, the harder I'll race you. And if it comes down to there's actual contact that looked pretty intentional, I'm not going to care too much if I accidentally wreck to you. But I will say, at least everyone who ended in the main pack was really picking clean. And I definitely salute everyone involved for that, because above all, that's how I wanted it to be. Granted, if this was the old penalty system, I'll be honest, we all would have had tons of penalties, but nobody deserved any penalties. I don't think any of the top 5 got any throughout the whole race. So that was a really good selling by everyone, and I'm very glad to be a part of it. And I wish I had this change more often, but I also don't really want to steal points from people who are actually competing. Technically, I made the field stronger, because I was in the top half of the starting bit. I was 6th. But I think where I finished 4th, I technically made people actually competing for points at some way, shape, or form get less. But, I mean, yeah. I did it in a way that didn't hurt anybody flat out speed, I don't think. So I did it in a fair way. And hopefully y'all are fine with that. I'm not trying to be like a nuisance or anything. Hopefully y'all had fun racing with me too. And this was all in all the best race I've ever had for points. I had 1900 something at the end. It was 19-0 something, like 3 or 5 or something like that. And that's incredible. I'll probably never be able to do that consistently ever, honestly. Even if I get the best track combinations as possible, at some point I'm going to get wrecked or wreck myself or something, because I'm not as consistent as, them, for instance, or even, them, for instance. A lot of the time I just had a lucky combination. So I hope y'all enjoyed watching this race. If y'all raced with me, I hope y'all enjoyed doing it too, because I definitely know I did, and wish I could have the opportunity to more often, and whenever I get the opportunity, I'll try to most definitely make the most of it possible. And that's definitely also worth a year.